friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a cute card for you guys using this Lawn Fawn stamp set called Your Clawsome, as well as the Chamel Little by Little 6x6 pad. So I'm going to be coloring in my claw machine and my little bears and unicorn with some Copic markers, and I'm starting out with B93, B95, and B97. So I'm starting with my darkest shade, that B97, and I'm just adding a bit of shadow right underneath the other two bears that are kind of overlapping him a little bit, and then just a little bit on the other edge of his body. And then I'm going to blend that out with the B95, just kind of bringing that color down a bit, and then I'll take the B93, and I thought I would use that to finish up, but it seemed like it was just a little bit too dark. So I did go ahead and bring in the B00. It did take quite a bit of effort to blend these since this one is quite a bit lighter, but it did work. I just had to work at it a couple times and do it in a couple layers so that it didn't oversaturate the paper. And then I'm going to do a couple of the other bears exactly the same. My idea was that I was going to color in all the bears in kind of blues and neutrals. I'm going to use some cool grays as well, so that when I get to the unicorn, I'm going to do that in a bright, fun, happy color, and it'll make it really stand out. So I'm just repeating the same steps on a couple of the other bears that I did on the first one, using a little bit more dark on some of them, a little bit more light, so they still have their own little bit of variation, but they are all kind of similar toned. So I did two of the bears in those darker tones, and now I'm switching to the BG quadruple 0, BG 00, and the BG 21 for two of the other bears. I'm going to do one of the ones on the inside of the claw machine, and then one that will be on the side there. And I'm again using B21 for my darkest shade, and then just blending out with the B00 and the B quadruple 0. Just again, they're kind of in the same color family, but just so they have a little bit more personality, it's going to add a little bit more variety. So I'll just finish up my last little blue bear, and then I'm going to switch to some cool grays. And these will complement the blue bears nicely. So I'm using C0, C1, C3, and C5. Not necessarily all four shades on one bear, but I'll do some with the C1, C3, and C5, and then some with the C0, C1, and C3. So just kind of picking and choosing which ones to go dark with. Use the ones that are kind of the most overlapped would be the darkest. They would have the most shadows cast on them, so that's what I'm starting with. Just starting with that C5, and then blending out with a C3, and then finishing up with the C1. Kind of keeping their faces a little bit light so it's easy to see their eyes and nose. This one in the back here would also be a little bit more shadowed since he's kind of the furthest distance from the front. So I'm also going to color him with some darker shades, the C5, the C3, and the C1. Real quick and easy since there's only part of him showing. For this guy in the back there on the left, I'm starting with the C3 and then doing the C1 and finishing with the C0 as my highlight. And then I realized there was some legs kind of poking out at the bottom that don't seem to be attributed to any particular bear, but I just went ahead and colored those in with the C0 as well. And then I'm going to also color this bear that's kind of in front. He's not really being overlapped by anybody, so I'm starting with the C3 for him as well, blending out with the C1, and then I'll just finish with that C0. For the last little bear over on the side, I decided to color him with the C5, C3, and C1 combo. He's actually going to be on the outside of the machine, so I thought the little bit of a bolder color would make him stand out a little bit more. For the actual claw machine, I decided to go with red, and this is my favorite red combo. If you watch my videos with any frequency, you know that I use this combo quite a bit, but I really just love how the combination turns out. So this is R29, R39, and R59. And I'm using that R59 to shade in from the outside edge, just to cast a little shadow, make it appear a little bit more rounded. And then I'm bringing that in with the R39, and then I'll finish up by going over everything with the R29. And this is a slightly cooler toned red combination, which makes it work really well with the bears that we colored. It works great for anything from cherries to something that's metallic, such as this claw machine. It's just a really great, bright, cool-toned red. If you're looking for more of a warm-toned red, you could try the R22, R24, R29 combo. It's those light prawns and prawns. It has more peachy colors. It's got that orange undertone, so it's a bit of a warmer red, where this one is definitely cooler, but I think it works great for like inanimate objects like this. So I'll just finish up the top of the claw machine, just as I did the rest of it, using the R59 for my darkest shadows, pulling that out with the R39, and then overlapping that with the R29 and just drawing that towards the center where I'm going to keep it nice and bright. I'm going to do the claw to match. I'm just doing that top bar and then the little circle in the reds. And then I'm going to pull in some grays for the rest of it. I'll be using C5 and C7 to color in a lot of the metallic parts to accent the machine, including that little part where the bears drop down, and the legs, and the extra parts of the claw, and the little gear panel. I did also pull in the C3, and I used that on the center of the gear panel, and then I'm also going to use it in the center of this little chute that the animals drop down through. So right about now you're going to start noticing the sun creeping across my desk. I do work with natural light most often. I prefer to film with natural light, and especially for the coloring, I feel like the colors are a lot more true. But I do have to work against the sun sometimes. I usually try to film earlier in the day, but for this video it just wasn't possible. So I just zoomed in a bit for you. I had to zoom in pretty tight to block out that sun, otherwise it just washed out all the color and you couldn't see it anyway. But I've moved on to my unicorn, and for that I'm using RV21, RV23, and RV25. I used Y13 and Y15 for the unicorn's horn and one of the buttons on the control panel. I pulled in BG13 for the other button there, little C1 for the unicorn's muzzle. I flicked in a little BG10 from both sides just to give it that look of glass. And I just let that fade off towards the center. And then I went back to my B93 and B95 to just finish off the little joystick. So at that point I had to set the project aside and wait until the sunset so that I could turn on my lights and not have that bright white coming across my desk. So this is later in the evening now, and I'm just going to take my 2 pieces of pattern paper. I've die cut them with the Lawn Fawn stitch rectangle stackables and then the simple hillside borders to just create a little ground for my claw machine to stand on. And I'm going to glue that down with some Tombow Mono Multi Glue and just make sure I have it centered on the focal panel there. Before I adhere anything else, I want to stamp out my sentiment so I can get that situated on the card where I want it. I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp out "Have a Clawsome Birthday," and I'm going to go ahead and ink that up twice. It's a good thing about using the MISTI that you're able to do that. And while I have my MISTI out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside panel of my card. I'm going to be using a black card base, so I'm going to add an insert, and I'm just going to stamp "You're a Winner," again with the VersaFine Onyx Black. Die cut my sentiment with one of the everyday sentiment banners from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just going to add that to the bottom in front of the legs of the claw machine with a little tombo mono, and I'm just making sure that I have that nice and straight, and then I can go ahead and finish off the focal panel. I'm going to add the little claw machine up to the top. This card also, you can make this interactive by using the slide on over die so that that claw can actually slide back and forth. I'm not going to do that today because I wanted to be able to mail this card, and you do have to use quite a bit of foam tape to bulk up your card to make that slide really well. I will do that in another video soon because I'm really eager to try that out. But for today I wanted to keep it nice and flat. So I just added my little unicorn into the claw, and I'm going to take one of these teddy bears and add that near the chute there at the bottom where they would come out, just to kind of accent that sentiment banner and just make it look like they'd already been coming out. Because you know you don't get the good thing on the first try. So I'm going to go ahead and add my insert to the inside of my card, and this is just Lawn Fawn's black licorice cardstock, scored and folded to a standard 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall card, and it is a top fold, so a portrait style. And then I'm going to take that other little bear, the blue one that I colored, and I'm going to add that right above the sentiment there that says you're a winner. This cardstock is nice and thick, and it didn't want to stay pressed down, so I'm just going to grab my bold folder one more time and give that a good press so that it lays nice and flat. And then I can take my focal panel and just adhere that down to the center of the card with a little bit more tombo mono, so I can make sure that I get that lined up straight before I press that into place. And that is going to complete our card for today. There's another little peek at the inside. And I think it turned out really cute and nice and bright and colorful and simple and perfect for kids. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That lets me know that you're interested in more videos like this in the future. Here's an extra couple videos you may also be interested in, and you can always click on my photos to subscribe to my channel if you've not done that already. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.